Hey, what's going on, you guys, and welcome back to another episode with I Trek. Big shout out to everybody on this beautiful Saturday, man. I appreciate you guys for tapping in like you always do. And if this is your first time here, what we like to do is take a look at the most interesting and creepy videos from all around the internet and evaluate for ourselves whether these are fact or fake. If you haven't already, go ahead and smash that like button for me, smash that subscribe button, join the iTrack fam if you haven't already. Now let's go ahead and jump right into it.
We are moving towards a future where you will be able to send a text message just by thinking about it. And this isn't decades away, it's years away. And not through brain chips, but through devices like AI glasses and wristbands.
The vision that some major tech companies have is to replace the keyboard and the mouse with neural interface devices.
What privacy implications exist there?
I have talked about this as kind of our final frontier of privacy. Up until now, what happened in your mind really was the last domain of privacy that you had.
So a lot of people say, I don't really care about my data anymore because there's nothing in it that can be used against me. Can we set the record straight as to what actually happens with your data?
Brain data is one piece of all of the other data that's going to be collected. It's kind of like the final piece in the puzzle. And suddenly, with all of that data together, AI is able to make pretty precise inferences about what a person at least is feeling and over time potentially thinking.
There are a lot of reasons to want some of these devices in our world.
To reverse course on one of the leading causes of human suffering, which is neurological disease and suffering. The question is, how do you get that without losing your mental privacy and what it means to be human?
So our freedom to actually think is really now up for debate.
I'm worried about manipulating and changing what's happening in our brains too.
I definitely believe that that's on the horizon. A lot of things that we thought weren't possible are already becoming possible. So I can see that right around the corner, and slowly but surely people will accept it like they've accepted everything else.
Here are the top ways to know that the concert you're attending is an occult ritual. Number one, there are a bunch of men standing around in black. No, those are not the ushers. No, those are not security guards. Those are agents to make sure that the occult ritual goes as planned. Number two, the main act shows up extremely late. This is important because coming in late actually causes the audience psychological harm because the anxiety that they feel now, wondering whether or not the show will be canceled, what's going on, and then the act coming out after being so late has put people on edge and they don't know what's going to go on with the show. That's actually part of the whole act, and that's part of the ritual. Number three, there's a lot of fighting, there's a lot of angst, and there's a lot of heightened emotion during the concert. A lot of the fans are fighting and kind of ruffling around with each other. Those are just getting in fights and being outrageous. This is part of it too because the heightened emotion is feeding the performer and the ritual. Finally, if the main act is standing on stage silently just looking at the crowd, it's because they're literally feeding on your energy in that moment.
The richest man on Earth owns X. The family of the second richest man on Earth owns Paramount, which owns CBS, and may soon acquire Warner Brothers, which owns CNN. He may also acquire TikTok. The third richest man owns Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. The fourth richest man owns the Washington Post. See the problem here?
That one's pretty obvious. It's a whole lot of power in so few hands. It's pretty dangerous.
Ever think the public would find out that all the spacewalks were filmed underwater?
Thanks, sir.
Do you have any comment on that?
Well, we train underwater.
Oh, okay, but only training?
Only training.
Okay.
Most of the public have no idea that the ISS is located in an underwater neutral buoyancy lab in Houston, Texas. The space station footage that they trick us with is not traveling at 17,500 miles per hour above your head. It's all being filmed here on Earth. An exact ISS replica underwater. Coincidence? It's a pretty simple process. Film your footage underwater, remove the water layer, add in your CGI Earth layer, and cast your spell.
Hey, her nervous laugh mixed with that look on her face is pretty obvious something was going on and she felt like she was outed. Just look at her face, you know what I mean?
Did you hear that there was a tunnel just discovered last week that goes from Tijuana, Mexico, all the way under the U.S. and up into Vancouver, Canada. It was built by the cartels, and the U.S. governors are saying, hey, look, we're glad we found out we're going to fill this thing full of cement, but it will cost $3 trillion worth of cement. The cartels are suing the U.S. in the Supreme Court saying, hey, in the Treaty of Versailles and maritime law, if something is 50 feet under the surface of a country, that country doesn't have jurisdiction over it. Therefore, the U.S. cannot fill it full of cement. And the U.S. is saying, we don't care about that. It goes under our country. So it's a huge legal dispute. I'm curious if you think the cartel has rationale or the U.S. governors. This is the end of the tunnel when it comes out into Vancouver, Canada. It's incredible there. The crazy thing is that they actually dug it and put the cement up. It only took them 3 years, they said, and engineers across the country and the world are in a tizzy saying, this is an engineering feat. It might be the 9th wonder of the world. But I'm curious if you think it should be filled full of cement, or maybe like they can sell it to a corporation like Amazon that could use it to actually ship products and for logisticers.
That's kind of like saying somebody built a tunnel under your house, and the tunnel is so far under your house that you should just be fine with it. I don't know about that one.
We're looking at Oscar, the first human modular prototype that is able to live in various setups. Connect the brain to the heart modules to activate the blood circulation. Now, the lung is going to start breathing. You can see both organs are now collaborating. I can add a kidney module. And if I add a limb module, I start actuating the organism to move. Now it's looking for the optimal temperature, which is 37 degrees. If I add another limb, Oscar will recognize it and beneficiate from new possibilities.
But AI and humanoid robots will actually eliminate poverty. And Tesla won't be the only one that makes them. I think Tesla will pioneer this, but there will be many other companies that make humanoid robots. But there is only basically one way to make everyone wealthy, and that is AI and robotics.
Now, I'm definitely going to need some feedback. Do you think he's selling a pipe dream, or do you think he might be spitting some facts there? Drop it in the comments and let me know what you think.
UBI, screaming that from the mountaintop for the past year and a half, 2 years. 2 years. They even have a cartoon on Fox called Universal Basic Guy. Why do you think that is? They're getting everybody prepared to be on universal basic income. They were paying these guys in the cartoon, they were paying these guys because they lost their job to automation, AI.
Wait, that was in the show?
That's in the show.
No.
They lose their job to automation. They get a check from the government and it's all about them just sitting on their ass and getting into adventures.
All we have to do is just watch the shows.
TVs, movies, cartoons, it's always there. They do it, they tell you before they do it.
Literally.
Why did Fox roll out that cartoon and now they're talking about UBI? Now they're doing stimulus checks? Now they're doing, because even Elon's talking about not universal basic income, but it's universal high income, which is just another fancy word for UBI.
What do you mean universal high income?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, so you just, okay.
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
Like,
right.
Oh, we're gonna pay you more to do X, Y, and Z, or just be dependent on us, and that's it. Because universal basic income sounds basic. So let's change the word. Universal high income. Oh, that sounds better. They're always changing these words. Same thing they do with Agenda 2030.
Talk about it.
Agenda 2030 used to be Agenda 21. For that, it was the plan for sustainability. They keep changing these words, but it's the same thing. Same playbook, different cover. They're doing the same thing again. Pretty interesting. And with AI, within the next 5 years, the number keeps changing, but they project now, within 5 years, is gonna affect over 200 million jobs.
And if you've been watching my channel long enough, you know predictive programming is a real thing. We can look at the movies, we can look at the TV shows. They're always telling you something. Some people are just asleep and not paying attention, but it's in your face for a fact.
It surprised you to learn that before 1874, the word psychology had a different meaning than it does today. You can still look in the dictionary and find that the word psyche means soul or spirit, and the suffix ology means study of. If you guessed that the original definition of psychology was the study of the soul, you would be correct. But in 1874, Professor Wilhelm Wundt of Leipzig University in Germany abruptly and radically altered this definition. Professor Wundt asserted that humans had no soul, that they were assemblages of chemicals and stimulus response animals. This is the basic fundamental upon which the entirety of today's psychology is built.
Oh my God, is that a tooth coming out of her nose? This is actually the thing, guys. It's called ectopic tooth eruption. Ectopic tooth eruption means the teeth that are developing normally as you grow up when you're a youngster, it actually grows in the wrong place. Usually we see that in the upper incisors. Sometimes it's caused impaction. That means the teeth are still in the bone within the oral region. But in severe ectopic cases, it actually grows into the sinus. And what happens is that in really ectopically growing teeth, we see them actually grow inside the nostril. It's actually quite crazy. When a tooth is inside your sinus or inside your nostril, somewhere where it's not supposed to be, a lot of times we have to take out the tooth. There's no way even the orthodontist can take a tooth in your nostril, bring it all the way down to here. And oftentimes when you finish growing, then the doctor, the dentist has to place an implant to replace that missing tooth that grew elsewhere.
That's definitely one of the rarest. I've never seen that in real life.
There's no hostility from another species because there's a higher governing species, or is it just the fact that there is no hostility whatsoever? How can we be sure of that? First question.
Everybody who I know who has dealt directly with those beings have told me our own experience, and that is they are completely non-hostile. They have been portrayed as such because how do you unite the world around a military response? You create a false alien threat. This is what Wernher von Braun warned about, and we are very much at that point, unfortunately. So I think that calmer minds need to prevail, but there is no evidence they are hostile. Now let me make one other point. As I said one time to a general, I won't say who it is, because if they were hostile, and given the galactically foolish things we have done, targeting them, striking them, now these systems that are faster than the speed of light, moving out into space, the technologies they have in a fraction of a second could shut down all those systems and everything else. They have not. Why have they not done that? Because they are essentially very peaceful, highly organized, socially evolved, psychologically and emotionally evolved civilizations. One other point, common sense. If you possess those sort of weapons and you're still of the consciousness of violence, you're going to blow yourself up or some nearby planet with you. Because we're not talking about, let's forget science fiction. You're not talking about boom, boom with a laser beam, right? Or a kinetic missile, or even a thermonuclear missile. You're talking being able to affect the fabric of space-time. And then if those technologies are weaponized, it's over in a fraction of a second. So the proof, I said to one senior military guy, that they are not hostile is that you and I are still breathing the free air of Earth. If you know what we've been doing, it's quite clear that this is actually proof that they're not hostile. If you understand what those technologies are, and if you understand what covert illegal projects have been doing.
Remember the robot fail last week when a Russian humanoid bot just fell right on his face? Well, take a look at this. Another humanoid robot dancing for Russian leaders, including Vladimir Putin, as part of an exhibition put on by Russia's largest bank. The robot, named Green there, looking like he's popping and locking, was shown on Russian state TV during Putin's tour at the bank. Putin called it very beautiful.
Your brain is actually what controls what you see. Check this thing out. This will show you, look, the one on the right looks smaller. You're sure it looks smaller, but it's just your brain. They're the same size.
Hello, and welcome back to Celebrities You Didn't Know Were Kidnapped. So this is actually one of the scariest celebrity kidnapping stories I've ever heard. Today we're talking about Justin Long. This story takes place in 2007 when Justin was filming a movie in Birmingham, Alabama. Justin was out at a local bar after filming with some of the crew when he was approached by two local men. The men offered to take Justin and the production assistants to a casino, but insisted that they all drive together in their car. Justin actually didn't think much of this and agreed to go with them, but first wanted to go back to his hotel room to get some more money to gamble with. So he goes, grabs the money, gets back in the car with the guys, and the guys say that they need to make a pit stop at their house. And while they're at the house, one of them offers Justin some weed, and he takes one hit and realizes it's not weed. He starts immediately feeling like he's losing control of his body, and when he offers it back to the men, they don't want to smoke it.
And it's at this point too that another man comes out of one of the rooms, goes, "That's the guy," grab the camera, and then they're all back in the car again. At this point, Justin's at least with it enough to know that they're not bringing him back to his hotel even though he's begging them to. At one point, they actually drive him to the hotel but don't let him get out and then drive away from it, sort of to like taunt him or to try to calm him down or something. He knows that things are starting to look really dire and gets this overwhelming sense that he is going to die. So what he does next is he opens the car door going 30 miles an hour and jumps out of it. And actually, he's so clumsy as he does it, he falls under the car and the car runs over his leg. But he's actually able to still get up and flag down the next car that drives by, which just happened to be a cab. The PAs that he was with were also let go at this point, and to this day he has nerve damage, but obviously it could have been so much worse. Make sure you're following along for more in this series.
So did you know the Egyptians encoded secret wisdom into their designs to help the individual who can read it progress in their spiritual journey? This is Tutankhamun's headdress, and if we take a close look at the headdress, we see that there is a serpent on his head, and the headdress itself looks like a serpent or a cobra. This is representing mental alchemy. Mental alchemy is transforming the mind from base awareness, negative thinking, into powerful thinking, because the serpent represents transformation. It can remove layers of its skin and renew itself. So this represents alchemy, transforming the mind, hence why the snake is on his head. And if we look even closer at the blue and gold stripes, this represents the sunrise, the sun rays, symbolizing illumination of the human mind, becoming more self-aware of what you are as an individual, not a physical body, but an infinite spark of the creative force of the universe. It's about renewing the self, transforming the self from fear-based thinking into powerful-based thinking, so you can become a conscious creator and create reality, so you become a master of life and reality. This is what this is ultimately symbolizing.
Holding in my hand here is silver iodide, and it might look like some crazy powder, but this is actually one of the keys to solving water scarcity and drought in the American West. With just 25 grams of this stuff dispersed into a cloud, we can make hundreds of thousands of gallons of water and cover hundreds of thousands of acres in snow. When we disperse it from our cloud seeding drone, the Elijah, we can make it snow more for farms, ecosystems, and cities across all of America, helping to end drought in the United States forever.
There have been instances where if you ask ChatGPT, hey, is there case law surrounding XYZ that will prove this element in my case, or that will make my client look correct in this situation? And ChatGPT will say, yes, absolutely. Here's a case from 2011 that was decided by Judge so-and-so in the state of whatever in this district. And it will give you all of the information. And you're like, amazing, great. I'm so glad that I got this information. If you plug that case into a law library, there's a good chance it does not exist. And it could be created from this imaginative data that ChatGPT has created.
And that actually happened painfully for an attorney that went to court.
There are a lot of appellate attorneys that are getting sanctioned left and right because they're using information from ChatGPT that does not exist. It's really important to verify that.
Yeah, the general consensus around town seems to be that ChatGPT is great at helping you use other AI products, but not so much in your real life. So then there is a huge misconception about at least ChatGPT becoming smarter than most. It seems to be really good at just being deceptive at the moment.
An asteroid might hit the moon, and we might have to nuke it before it does. I'm serious. So earlier this year, we thought that this asteroid might hit Earth. Good news, it won't. Bad news, it might now hit the moon, which is very bad news because this asteroid is the size of a 15-story building. And estimates say that an impact with the moon could cause a big cloud of debris around Earth. So NASA just came out with a real proposal for what we could do if a lunar impact becomes more likely. Option 1, we could smash a spacecraft into it, hoping to nudge it off its course. The problem is we only have 7 years, and for this to work, the nudge has to be done far enough in advance that it misses the moon. And you really don't want to nudge it into Earth. So NASA says that deflecting this one seems impractical. Option 2, we blow it apart. They call this robust disruption. We don't exactly know how big or how dense this asteroid is, so based on our estimates, NASA suggests that we use a 1 megaton bomb. And that looks like a very serious best option right now. The next time we'll see this asteroid will be in February with the James Webb Space Telescope, and that'll refine our estimate but not confirm it. But in 2028, when we get a better look with our Earth-based telescopes, then we'll decide what to do. If you want to know how we defend Earth from asteroids, go watch our video with Mark Rober.
Have you ever heard of artificial reincarnation? Because I hadn't. Evidently, artificial reincarnation is something that happens in a very deep trance hypnosis. A Soviet psychiatrist has claimed that the hypnotic phenomenon can be utilized for what he claims to be artificial reincarnations. For example, he claims that it is possible to hypnotically suggest to a girl who studies violin that she is the virtuoso violinist Fritz Chrysler. If so desired, it is also possible to create this capacity in an awake state. He's converted people who have had no desire to paint, invent complex machines, or play music into masters through hypnosis. He says it's because they're exceedingly deep in trance, whereas regular hypnosis is not so deep. He says it's a new form of active trance. As opposed to normal hypnosis, the newfound talents of his subjects retain in part of their conscious equipment the ability gained by this technique. They used an EEG to prove that this was a very deep state of trance. In reincarnation hypnosis, the alpha waves disappear completely on the EEG, which is consistent with a pattern that's recorded normally in high wakefulness. So reincarnation hypnosis appears to be the antithesis of sleep. I don't know what you guys think about this. This is kind of scary to me. I mean, it's definitely cool to like be able to improve your abilities, but the suggestibility of that is definitely scary. Let me know your thoughts, like and follow for more.
Just got back from Socotra, the world's only island that has trees that bleed like humans, and here are 3 crazy things I learned. Number 1, the locals don't use handshakes. Instead, they greet each other by touching noses. So interesting. It's like you're leaning in for a kiss. Number 2, the rarest trees on Earth grow here. They're called the dragon blood trees, and they've been growing for millions of years. Absolutely insane. They have this red sap that looks like human blood coming out of them, and the locals use it to heal cuts, toothaches, and also as a natural dye for clothes and makeup. Number 3, goats are considered gold. In Socotra, goats are the main source of income, and you see them everywhere. Families raise them for milk, meat, and trade.
You wonder why it's so expensive to fly somewhere? This is the real-time cost of how much money it will take just to get this airplane off the ground. So obviously the further you go, the more fuel you'll use, and the more it's going to cost. Look at this. I could have already filled my gas tank 2 times and gone like 600 miles by driving, and this airplane is only halfway across the runway. I mean, look, this is crazy. It's almost about to get off the ground, and we're almost at $200, which means for $200, you could drive halfway across the United States of America. And this airplane's just getting off the ground. That's why it costs so much.
I'm not quite sure what timeline he's living in, but for $200, you are not driving halfway across America. You'll get about a state or two, but you're not driving halfway.
Our ancestors were telepathic. H.P. Blavatsky suggested that the, quote, Adami were not the first human race, but the first race of speaking men, as their predecessors communicated using, quote, pure thought. This sounds wild until you learn about the Watchers, an ancient advanced race who interbred with early humans and who, according to many occult researchers, could send and receive information telepathically by transmitting light from their intensely bright, glowing eyes. Nikola Tesla also interestingly spoke of how one's thoughts are projected out as light from their eyes, the strength of which is tied to one's innate imaginative strength, and that if you're sensitive enough, you can actually, quote, feel someone else's thoughts beaming at you from their eyes. Gennady Krokalev also developed a special camera that could record a person's thoughts simply by filming their eyes, and he wrote several books on this, often speaking about how thoughts are a, quote, material weapon that can control many things. Krokalev mysteriously disappeared soon afterward, with his close friends and family claiming foul play. Follow me for more hidden knowledge.
I'm definitely willing to take it a step further and say, even if you're in the proximity of somebody, you can almost feel what they're going through or how they're feeling that day. There's definitely a lot to that.
There's some world records that are actually banned from ever being broken. The record for the fattest person is no longer allowed because obviously it's considered dangerous, especially since the record holder was 1,400 pounds. So your mom's out of luck. Records for the largest gatherings are banned too because they're dangerous. So this year's event, where a record 16 million people in India came together to take a bath in holy water, didn't count. Anything having to do with being buried alive isn't tracked either, since it led to so many deaths, but at least it saved money on funerals. World records for the most children are obviously banned, but this guy unofficially actually holds it for having at least 550 from donating for 10 years. Guinness doesn't allow attempts for the youngest anything anymore because too many parents kept putting their kids in danger to try to break records. A lot of eating milestones for fastest or most food were banned too because they said people kept choking on things like hot dogs, hamburgers, and butter. And the record for most lawsuits filed isn't allowed anymore because it's a waste of time. So this guy that's filed over 4,000 will hold it forever.
In the 1970s, a fringe physics group claimed they discovered something impossible. People seeing themselves a few seconds before they moved, as if consciousness had a shadow that traveled faster than the body. Here's what actually happened. A research team working out of a private lab in Northern California ran a series of perception experiments. Volunteers were placed in dark rooms and asked to perform simple hand motions on command. But according to the researchers, around 12% of subjects reported something bizarre, seeing a faint outline of their hand moving before they did. Some described it as a light shadow version of their body. Others said they watched themselves stand, turn, or reach, and then felt their real body follow a moment later. The researchers called this effect the quantum doppelganger. The idea that consciousness might project a predictive echo of its own actions, similar to how quantum particles behave when decoherence breaks down. But here's the twist. When the team applied the same test in brightly lit rooms or with multiple observers present, the effect disappeared. And just as the experiment started gaining underground attention, the lab lost funding. The data was boxed up, and most of the researchers scattered. No one ever published a full report, and only fragmented notes survive. So what were people seeing? A neurological glitch, a temporal anticipation effect, or, like the researchers believed, a momentary glimpse of consciousness operating just ahead of the physical body? Either way, it remains one of the strangest forgotten footnotes in fringe science history. Follow for more stories like this.
If you see a traffic barrel on the side of the highway, it might be watching you. The Associated Press just exposed a secret Border Patrol program that is monitoring millions of U.S. drivers. They're hiding license plate readers inside of traffic safety equipment to track your movements without you knowing. Using AI to analyze your travel patterns, if the algorithm thinks your driving looks suspicious, like driving on back roads or making short trips, it flags you. Then they tell local police to pull you over. They call it a whisper stop. The cop will say it's for speeding or window tint, but they're actually hunting for intelligence. Former Border Patrol officials confirmed that the agency has tried to keep any mention of the surveillance program out of court documents and police reports, even going so far as proposing dropping charges rather than risk revealing any details about how the surveillance works.
That would explain a lot of things.
What you're looking at is a living, fully conscious human brain. It's immersed in an oxygenated nutrient solution, given sensory input through the camera here, and it's able to speak to us through this speaker. Hello, everyone. That voice is generated directly from its neural patterns. With this configuration, the mind...
This is interesting to think about. Cassette tapes used to have a side A and a side B. So it makes sense that the next step up would have been a CD.
For real? For real. So the Boogosphere, you believe that's... Bashar has said you were given that to tinker with so that you can start to understand alien technology more clearly.
A popular theory is that they are gifting us these devices for us to stretch our consciousness.
Yeah, to practice. Here's a toy to practice with.
We have friends that are down in Mexico working with it right now with like scientists and stuff. They're like, this is 100% real.
It's another part of contact. Here's something to tinker with. It's physical. It's real. You can get your hands on it.
That makes so much sense because like you just looked at the video they just declassified where they shoot a missile at a UAP in the air, right? Which they've been doing and do all the time. So it just bounces off, but it's like, oh, you can withstand a warhead shot at you, let it bounce off you. But the Boogosphere is like, oh, I hit a power line. Oh, oh my God, I can't believe you guys found me after all these years. I'm so embarrassed. Oh, makes so much sense.
No, actually, I mean... Yes, it's like, here you go. Because
my one weakness.
So here's something that will stretch your thinking about how to look at different objects that might be extraterrestrial, because they're going to help us technologically too. Here's a rudimentary version of what you're going to be exposed to later. Let's see what you do with it. Let's see what you can figure out now.
Yeah, that Boogosphere got whole countries and the whole communities of people messed up big time. You know, just dumbfounded, have no clue what they're looking at, but it's definitely not human and not man-made.
China really be living in the future sometimes. They just set a world record after 16,000 drones took to the sky in what is now the largest synchronized drone display ever recorded. But the craziest part about this is that the previous world record, which they also had, was only 5,164, which was set in 2021. And now they tripled that in just a matter of years. Each drone followed a specific program flight path to create visuals of towers, blossoms, and a glowing sky tree, which then had fireworks launched out of its branches. What the hell are they gonna do in 2030?
Did you know that if you have a leaf rake, do you know how to properly use it? Most people go like this. That's not how you do it. You turn it over. You go like that. You scoop over.
Now, if you're telling me that that's how you've been raking your yard, I'm going to call cap right off the top. I'm pretty sure nobody knew that that's how you use a rake. Quit lying. Stop the cap.
Set, 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 set.
This AI laser could ensure a future where pesticides and herbicides are no longer needed. This laser targets 2,300 different insects, excluding bees, because we need those. It targets all known weeds without the use of any chemical. There's no spray on the planet that does the same thing. It works autonomously, and it's said to become the new standard in farming at some point, opening up the market to a pesticide-free produce. Two birds and one stone. What do you think?
Sure, we all will take that over pesticides any day.
Whenever you visit an unknown hotel, always do this safety check. Take any card, just like a playing card, and place it on the mirror like this. Now look carefully. If you see a small gap between the card and its reflection, you're safe. But if there's no gap, that means you just saved your dignity by seconds.
Oh, I can feel it. Is it coming out?
Yep. 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 I just saw it. Did you see it?
No, I can see it.
Did you see it?
Like...
It just swam out. I just saw it.
I can feel it.
Oh my god.
Did it go back in?
This is like my worst night. Isn't it meant to swim out with the oil?
Yeah, it did though, but where did it go? There it is. There it is! Did you see it?
Yeah.
Oh, I got a crab in my ear!
Well, there's been a change to the CDC website. There used to be a headline that said, "Vaccines do not cause autism." Now there's an asterisk at the end of that, and there's a line under that that says, "Studies have not ruled out the possibility that childhood vaccines cause autism." History lesson. The first purported link between vaccines and autism came from a small 1998 study in the British journal called The Lancet. To make a long story short, investigations concluded that that was a fraudulent article, and actually it was retracted, but it was not retracted until 2010. So that's 12 years after publication. And during that time, it sort of grew and grew and grew, the idea that, oh, maybe there's some kind of relationship between vaccination and autism. So dozens of studies were done over 2 decades. And the conclusion was there's no evidence that vaccines cause autism. And that is the absolute consensus of the scientific community. Why is that so frustrating to so many people, including researchers and people in the autism community? Because there was a diversion of all that time and effort and money to try to prove something that was based on was felt to be a fraudulent claim. Imagine if during that time, that money, that effort, all that research had gone into figuring out, well, what does cause autism? Now it's felt to be a combination of genetic factors, environment, some things that we don't know. It would have been great to do that research and also put money towards early diagnosis and early treatment. So there's been a lot of frustration. And it remains to be seen what's going to happen down the road. It is a good sign that HHS has said they're going to spend millions of dollars investigating the causes of autism right now. But it doesn't bring back what happened since 1998, so that's 27 years.
Have you guys heard of the pit from hell? This is crazy. The Hauska Castle. This castle is very strange. The fortification is not facing the outside, it's facing the inside of the castle into a courtyard. This pit goes back to ancient traditions where it's this giant granite slab, I believe. But in this slab, people always reported hearing noises and creatures coming out of this pit.
Oh my gosh.
And terrorizing villages. Apparently it got so bad to where they built this castle around it and basically set up all these monks and stuff inside this. And then at one point it became like a prison. They would give prisoners option death penalty or lowered into the pit. And stories go that these prisoners were lowered into the pit, and when they came out they had aged 40 to 50 years, completely grayed, screaming, losing their minds. There's creatures down there, fire. They literally described it as hell. What? These monks and stuff, they were set up around there to combat these demons that were coming out of this pit. And then eventually they just decided to seal it up. But But it wasn't until the Nazis took over this castle, reopened the pit, and sure enough, the same occurrences. They described like giant frog-looking men. Then after World War II, when the Nazis were driven out, they sealed it. Modern day, no one's tested what's in this pit.
Who owns it now?
I don't know.
Let's do a GoFundMe on Patreon.
Open the pit.
Is there such a thing as too much exercise?
Yeah, unfortunately, yes. About 11% of elite athletes by the time they reach 50 will have scans that show very severe blockages or a heart disease, right? I remember one lady I saw a few months ago, and she was running something crazy like 5 to 10 miles a day, but on only 4 hours sleep. And she was young and otherwise didn't have a diabetes or anything else, but had developed heart disease. And I said, this is probably because of this. I think that when you look at heart disease and optimal levels of exercise, it is actually the one thing I think the guidelines are right about is probably that 150 minutes of moderate activity a week.
Sold I sold at the depth. That's how deep I got into this. Masonry is an ant and big King James Bible. You swear the essence of the oath is to keep the secrets of an entered apprentice mason. And then at the end, you swear that if I should ever reveal the secrets of an entered apprentice mason, that I swear that I will have my throat cut across, my tongue torn out by the roots, and buried in the sands of the sea where the tide ebbs and flows twice in 24 hours, should I ever knowingly violate this, my entered apprentice obligation. So help me God and keep me steadfast to the due performance of the same. At that point, the worshipful master says, my brother, and what do you most desire? I say light, and then one more creepy.
Slaves who escape would throw fried balls of cornmeal to distract the dogs who were following them. Later, these balls of cornmeal would be known as hush puppies. Carnival games used to be targeted at adults, not children, and the prize was a cigar. So when the adult wouldn't win the prize, he was close, but no cigar. During negotiations, men used to bury all of the weapons. So to keep conflict from arising and to keep things friendly, you would bury the hatchet. Soldiers who had frozen feet were not allowed to rush into battle, thus the term cold feet. In Thailand, white elephants were considered to be sacred, but also were given as gifts as a subtle form of punishment. Because white elephants were so hard to take care of, they would put you in financial ruin. Now, when you're given a gift that you don't really want, it's considered a white elephant. In the 18th century, the most important political figures wore large wigs. Now, when someone is in a high position of power, they're known as bigwigs. There's an old law that states that if you butchered an animal that didn't belong to you, but you were caught without blood on your hand, you wouldn't be punished, because you had to be caught red-handed. During medieval times, whenever a host would be ready for a dinner party to end, he would give his guests a piece of cold meat. This was a polite way of asking everyone to leave. Thus the term, giving them the cold shoulder.
Why did the majority of those situations that she was talking about sound like it could actually be a real thing? That's incredibly interesting.
If you were the fallen angels and you came down to Earth and you just got your butts handed to you by Michael and the other angels, like the first thing you're doing is plotting your revenge. What
is that one Transformers movie? Isn't it called like Revenge of the Fallen?
Yeah, it is. I think personally, if you've ever seen a quantum computer, if you've ever seen, they are not normal. They are not human. No. They are otherworldly. Like there's no doubt that it's fallen tech. So what I think that in order to figure out how they could defeat God, what they realized they had to do is they had to run some simulations, and they had to run as many as they could at one time, just like in the Avengers
Endgame.
Figure out what the possible solutions were. So I think that they had to make a bunch of quantum computers, but in order to do that, they had to get people to go all over the world and excavate, get the metals.
They need vibranium and adamantium.
They need all kinds of stuff to make these quantum computers. And so I think that what they did was they made a crap ton of quantum computers to run a bunch of different simulations to figure out how they could defeat God. And there's a possibility that we're all in one of those.
Do you know Michael Jordan can't sign autographs? For many years, he had a deal with Upper Deck where he literally couldn't sign autographs. It wasn't that he was a jerk and ignoring fans. He couldn't. His name is so powerful. His brand is so powerful. Actually, I think he just signed a new deal around his Michael Jordan brand now as well, too. So pretty wild. Probably the greatest athlete ever. And you can't get his autograph. And I was so close to having it one time, and I missed it in an auction. I mean, it's, man.
Yeah, that's when you know you're getting them deals done. Can't even sign an autograph. Pretty legendary.
Do you know about alchemical sexual alchemy?
Sexual alchemy.
Yeah. There is a substance or liquid or a substance that comes from your medulla, which is basically completely looks like the Ark of the Covenant. Has angel's wings around it. The whole thing. Your medulla is shaped.
Now, is this what Michael Jackson used to call Jesus juice?
Yeah. There's 33 vertebrae in your spine. There's 33 years in the life of Jesus. So this substance comes from your medulla, makes the trip down your spine to your sacrum, which is
quick, get a dictionary.
Christ coming down into human form.
Yeah.
And if you don't squander that essence, that sexual essence, it ascends again and goes back up to heaven, which is your thing. It's also the story of Santa Claus. Why he comes down the chimney is because this juice or this whatever substance actually passes what's called the claustrum, which is where they got Santa Claus. So it goes down the chimney and back up the chimney. It's all very freaky shit, man.
Well, you guys, hey, that's another one in the books, man. I appreciate you guys for stopping by yet again on this beautiful Saturday and watching another one with me. If you haven't already, make sure to smash that like button for me, smash that subscribe button, and I will definitely catch you on the next one.